I just put every single NBA GM inside of a Zoom call to determine whether or not I am smarter than them. I didn't actually do that. The intro is completely edited. Instead, I'm going to be going over the 2024-2025 NBA season preview. And so in this video, to determine whether or not I am smarter than your average NBA GM, I am not only going to be going through and critiquing some of these terrible predictions, but I'm also going to be giving my prediction. That way, at the end of the season, we can come back and see whether or not I am officially smarter than an NBA GM. And if you guys want to comment down below and talk about my prediction or the NBA GM's prediction being stupid or maybe even good, feel free to do so because I read and respond to everyone down there. But for now, let's just hop right into it, man. Starting off with what team will win the 2025 NBA Finals. 83% of the votes thinking that the Boston Celtics are going to go back-to-back. And you know what? I disagree with this. The Boston Celtics did have a fairly easy run last year. I'm not going to discredit their championship or say that they didn't deserve it because they won. That's just ridiculous. But can they do something like that again? Can they go through another Western Conference where the OKC Thunder finally got a lot more experience? Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves, even though they look different, they got some experience. The Nuggets are probably going to be back in the finals if we're being honest here. I mean, you know, who knows? I feel like the Western Conference is too good. And even when looking out east, there's a lot of teams that I have competing very strongly with the Boston Celtics. This sounds crazy, but my prediction is the Dallas Mavericks. I think Derek Lively is going to have himself a huge jump this year. I'm very excited to see how he performs. Klay Thompson is there as well. I know that he doesn't really move the needle as much as a lot of other people have been making it out to be, but I have a lot of hope in the Dallas Mavericks. Right here is the rankings and how the standings are actually going to look. I do agree with the majority of this, although I do think that Milwaukee is just a bit too far down. So I feel like Philadelphia is going to be like the 4th, 5th seed, and Milwaukee will hopefully have a healthier season and they're more connected with Dame and Giannis to where they can make things work a little bit more. But this, Eastern Conference rankings doesn't really matter. Down in the West, OKC, Minnesota. Okay, this is ridiculous. The Sacramento Kings are somewhere in the playoff conversation. This is ridiculous right here. This is ridiculous. To have the Golden State Warriors over the Sacramento Kings, dumb. I don't even have a prediction for this. I just have the Sacramento Kings as the entire standings. That's my answer to that. All right, we're getting into the real questions here. Who's going to win the MVP with 40% of the GMs saying SGA? I think this is going to be a Luka Doncic MVP. I have said before that the only reason why this man never won MVP is because the Mavericks were never a good regular season game, and they also show much in the playoffs. I know that sounds crazy considering they were a Western Conference Finals team, but when you fail to be a good regular season team after that, it doesn't really mean much. But this year, I feel like things are different. We knew how good he was before, but he made it to the promised land. He made it to the finals. So my prediction is Luka Doncic as the MVP. Which player is most likely to have a breakout season with 13% of the GMs saying Jalen Williams? I do really like the Jalen Williams answer. If we're talking like who deserves the most improved player of the year award, I want to burn this entire list. But for someone to have a breakout season, we're talking going from good to super good or good, all-star, all-NBA level, it's Jalen Williams, which is part of the reason why I think that SGA is not going to have like a lower role, but he's not going to have so much of the offensive load on him, which is part of the reason why I think the MVP conversation is going to be a little bit different surrounding him. But yes, I would say Jalen Williams. I would hope to see Evan Mobley, to be honest. John Morant is already an all-star, all-NBA player. Why is he on this list? I don't know. Is this who's going to have the best comeback from an injury? Like that is just ridiculous. And hey, look at this. We got a little bit of a Keegan Murray Sacramento sighting. I love to see it. I do agree with almost all of their rankings with like positions, like who's the best point guard, Luka, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Giannis, Jokic. Which one player acquisition will make the biggest impact? Now, this is kind of a prediction that's more opinionated. To put the fucking
opinionated.
As for Paul George being on the 76ers, I do like this as the biggest impact, but I also think that Mikal Bridges, like being at 13% is just a little bit crazy. I feel like he will have a bit more of an impact. Also, DeMar DeRozan on the Sacramento Kings. I mean, you know what? The bias is going to get me, okay? I have DeMar DeRozan on the Sacramento Kings being the biggest impact next season. I have the Kings going to the Western Conference Finals. I'm going DeMar DeRozan. Yes, I'm going to be biased this time. I will be honest. What was the most underrated player acquisition? It's like Alex Caruso, Tyrese Maxey, and Drew Holiday, who are like still for some reason known as like underrated players, or like I guess for Tyrese Maxey, it's a bit more about like up and coming, but they're like underrated so much to the point where they're almost overrated. I would honestly say that Isaiah Hartenstein going to the OKC Thunder is more of an underrated acquisition than Alex Caruso, because everyone values that move. Everyone values Alex Caruso. They know how good he is defensively, where I feel like Isaiah Hartenstein may not get that much credit. Which team will be most improved next season? With the Memphis Grizzlies coming in at 67% of the votes. Now, obviously, this is simply because they had a ton of injuries, which I kind of hate that they're like getting all this credit because they had an injury-riddled season. Like, yeah, it sucks, but like, what are you really improving from? You were still a good team. You still had good players. That being said, the 76ers being on here is just as crazy. I think the San Antonio Spurs might be a play-in team. I think we might get a little bit of a taste of the San Antonio Spurs in postseason action. So for this one, I'm going to go San Antonio, most improved team, lock it in. What was the most surprising move of the offseason? Obviously, this isn't a prediction, but the fact that 23% of the people said Paul George to Philadelphia, that's absolutely ridiculous. When the Cat trade happened like a day before media day and we had no clue, there was no rumblings of that trade, whereas Paul George and Joel Embiid were sitting on the finals broadcast together. Like, that is just ridiculous. These guys aren't even trying when they do these polls. It's actually insane. Who will win Rookie of the Year? Reed Sheppard pulling in 50% of the votes. Now, as much as I love Reed Sheppard's game and his three-point shot and his playmaking and everything that he can really do, this Houston Rockets team is a bit different, where they're almost trying to make this big push for the playoffs or just some sort of postseason success, and I don't know where Reed Sheppard fits into that system. To win an award like Rookie of the Year, you need to really put up the numbers, and I don't know if he's going to get the opportunity, if he's going to get the ability offensively to make those shots or put those shots up in the first place. When you compare that to someone like Zach Edey, who is going to, I think, get the starting role as soon as the season starts. I mean, you can even look at Ron Holland in Detroit or Alex Sarr in Washington, where they just have more opportunity. They might not be better players at the end of the day, but because they have more opportunity, have more minutes, they have the ball in their hands more, they can make more things happen. So you know what? My lock for Rookie of the Year is going to the Chicago Bulls, Buzelis. This guy has just been so much fun to watch, and like I said earlier, I think he is going to get the most opportunity and the ability to really be able to score and show who he is as a player from day one. And it also doesn't hurt that he has a great personality, but now I'm just parasocial and dick riding. Who is the best defensive player in the NBA? I'm just going to treat this as if we're asking who's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. With Victor Wembanyama getting 40% of the votes, this might be the only poll that I actually agree with the GMs on. Bam Adebayo is great. Rudy Gobert is great. Drew Holiday. All these guys are great, but Victor Wembanyama, I feel like we are going into this season with this preconceived notion, this idea that he is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. And to be honest, call me crazy, but I think that he could have won it last year if there wasn't so much hype around him already. People know that he's going to get a ton of these. He's going to be winning them every single year, and I feel like the league almost knew that and was like, okay, we can't give it to the rookie that's hyped, because then people are going to say that he's overrated. Let's give it to Rudy Gobert for now, and we'll start giving more and more to Victor Wembanyama as time goes on. Yeah, that looks like that is the end. So I hope you guys all enjoyed. Be sure to like it, subscribe, comment down below some of your guys' opinions on these predictions and your predictions as well. Because I'm going to be honest, a lot of the times that I make predictions, they end up just getting lost in the wind every time I try to go back and look at them. So at least you can lock them in this video and you know where to go when you go to tell people that you were invested in a team or a player way early on. So be sure to do that. Like I said in the beginning, I read and respond to everyone. Hope you guys all enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.